beauties, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zoya Day, licensed esthetician, and this is Day's Beauty Room, your #1 source for professional skincare advice, product knowledge, and esthetician tips. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you different tips and advice on keeping your ingrown hairs down and how to keep your kitty nice and pretty. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and let's get into today's video. So we're going to jump right in with tip number 1, and this is something I definitely recommend everyone to at least try and get accustomed to, and that's going to be waxing. And I know a lot of people have their own opinions and fears on waxing, but there are a lot of benefits to being a part of the waxing lifestyle. Like, for one, it actually slows down the hair growth, which also helps to keep down the risk of ingrowns compared to using something like Nair or shaving. And I'll make sure to link my video below where I talk about different waxing tips for first-time waxers and anybody trying to get back into the waxing lifestyle. Now, our second tip is going to be having a pre and post care for when you're doing any type of hair removal, whether it's waxing or shaving. Now, if you're waxing, usually your esthetician will have a pre and post care already in place for you. So having a pre and post care routine for hair removal will actually help with how your skin reacts and how your skin recovers from hair removal. So for post care, you should be exfoliating on a regular, about 2 to 3 times a week. You can use exfoliating gloves, you can use a loofah, dry brushing, or even chemical exfoliations like exfoliating body washes. And exfoliating is really going to help with keeping down the dead skin, which also causes ingrowns. And if you are still shaving, you can do something like applying a light oil to the area before you shave. You can also use something like a shaving cream on the outside and the mount of your vagina when you're shaving, even though I really don't recommend shaving the area. But at least having a pre and post care routine will take down some of the risk of shaving. So tip number 3 we touched on a little bit in tip number 2, and that is exfoliating on a consistent basis. Now, this is going to be really important at keeping down ingrowns and helping the hair grow through the follicles easily. Like mentioned before, you can use exfoliating gloves, a loofah, dry brushing, the silicone body brushes, and like I mentioned, for chemical exfoliation, you can use things like body washes that have AHAs, glycolic acid, or salicylic acid to help remove dead skin. Now, tip number 4 is definitely something you want to keep in mind if you are going to be waxing and going to, wax appointments every 3 to 4 weeks. And that's going to be wearing loose, breathable, comfortable clothing. Now, you still want to do this even if you are going to be shaving, just because the skin is still going to be irritated and a little raw. So you don't want your clothes to be causing any type of friction, which can still lead to ingrowns. So as far as fabric, cotton is usually the best option as far as comfortable and breathable clothing, especially when it comes to underwear. But if you are going to be, just at home or sleeping, I also recommend going commando for those who don't mind it. It's a nice way to let, baby girl breathe and help with the friction, especially after the first 24 to 48 hours of removing hair. So tip number 5 is going to be using different types of treatments or serums to help prevent ingrown hair. So you can use things like fur oil, PFB, and Skin Script's glycolic pads in between waxing or whatever form of hair removal you choose to do. This is really going to help treat and prevent any ingrowns you have and any new ones from forming. But keep in mind that you don't want to use any of these treatments or serums on the inside of the vagina. You're going to make sure everything stays on the outside of the labia and on top of the mound, which is usually the most common places for ingrowns. Now, I will be having a pretty kitty skincare routine, and this is just going to be a few tips and products that I like to use to help keep down ingrowns on myself. And so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss it. Now, tip number 6 is going to be to stay hydrated. Now, I know you're probably tired of hearing this on my Instagram and on my YouTube, but staying hydrated is really important for your overall skin health. You can also use a light moisturizer or light oils that are non-clogging for your pores. You can use oils like jojoba oil or grapeseed oil. I've personally used these oils with no issues, but we'll talk about that more in depth in my upcoming Pretty Kitty video. Now, tip number 7 is going to be to get Vijay Shows. Now, I know they have been gaining a lot of popularity, especially on Instagram, and YouTube. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a facial for your vagina. And these are really gonna help with treating any ingrowns or irritation that you might get from waxing or any other form of hair removal. Now you want to make sure you find an esthetician who is certified and licensed and experienced on doing facials, especially if she's going to be incorporating extractions that can actually cause a lot of damage if done incorrectly. So make sure you do your research. You can also perform a mini facial at home, and I'll probably do a demo on Instagram, so make sure you're following me so you don't miss it. Now, tip number 8 is probably the most important tip, and that is no picking at your ingrowns. Now, you probably hear this a lot, especially from estheticians, when it comes to picking at your skin on your face, but that is just as important for picking at ingrowns. It can actually cause more irritation and make the ingrowns worse. You can also transfer bacterias, which can lead to infections and further irritation, which nobody ever wants in that area. So make sure you leave the extractions to professionals like an esthetician or dermatologist, but do your research. Okay, my beauties, now that we went through and talked about some of my favorite tips to keep your kitty pretty, I want you to keep in mind that ingrowns can be caused from many different things, including to hair growth, to hair type, and it's always best to see a licensed professional so they can take a closer look at your skin and your hair and recommend the best treatments and the best products for you and your skin type. And if you want more skincare tips and advice, make sure you follow me on Instagram, where I'm posting daily. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and I'll see you in my next video.